Budgeting, starting your new small business. What do you need to do in terms of budgeting for 2013? This is a blog written by my friend Barbara Weltman, and I highly recommend you go to barbaraweltman.com, Barbaraweltman.com. Barbara is noted to be America's top small business tax expert. If you've been following me over the years, over the last couple years, a year ago, we haven't done one for about a year, Barbara did a 1 hour stick-ham broadcast. At that time we were not doing YouTubes, but she did a 1 hour stick-ham broadcast with me about small business every Friday morning at 9 o'clock. And she was in her office in her home. I was in my studio in my home, and we had a good time. She was right on this screen. I would Skype Barbara, and then we did our conversations. At any rate, her opinion, her thoughts, her ideas, her intellect are the most respected in this country, particularly as they pertain to small business and small business tax issues. And so she wrote a blog last week, Budgeting for the Coming Year, and it appeared on SBA.gov pages. Her opening paragraph, Barbara says, now that we're in the fourth quarter of the year, it's time to get ready for 2013. There's much to do from a financial, legal, and tax perspective. In this article are guidelines for mapping out your company's financial plans for 2013. She's talking to small businesses, but at the same time, she's talking about the needs and concerns of businesses that are just getting started. So some things to think about as you're starting your business, and particularly in 2013. An overview of budgeting. Budgeting is a process in which you estimate the income you expect your company to receive, as well as the expenses you expect to incur during any fixed period, typically for the year. It could be for the quarter, for 100 days, whatever. What is the amount of revenue you project to be generated by your business, and what kind of expenses are going to be incurred to realize that revenue? That helps define your marketing and sales efforts and your spending habits for the coming year. When you project how much money you're going to make, unless you have a lot of outside investment dollars, those are the dollars you will use to run your business on a day-to-day basis. Admittedly, there's a lot of guesswork because the future is uncertain. However, budgeting provides a framework in which to operate. Budgeting is a beginning. It's a starting point. And so you need to budget. You need to forecast. You might be wrong, and if you are wrong as the year goes on, then you need to adjust your budget downward or upward, whatever the case might be. You can deviate from the budget during the year as things change, as I just mentioned. For example, when your revenue is running short of your projection, you need to re-examine expenditures accordingly. The first step in budgeting is to review your current financial position by listing your revenue and expenses for the year. If you're just starting your business, you are just guessing, projecting. Meet with some mentors of entrepreneurship, your team. Meet with an accountant. That's a great place to start. An accountant, either a public accountant or a certified public accountant. That's what they do for a living. They work with the numbers of businesses. So they are the experts. They will tell you that that's an accurate projection. That's not an accurate projection. Engage that kind of assistance whenever you can. Get them to be a member of your Mentors of Entrepreneurship team. Projecting revenues, Section 2. The linchpin for any budget is a realistic projection of your revenues for the coming year. This is not a number made up in hopes and wishes. It is based upon a review of revenues for the current year and what you can expect to do in the next year. If you're just starting your business, obviously, you don't have a history of having that information. So you need to, early on, from the very beginning, establish as realistic projections as you possibly can. Rather than overly optimistic, overly aggressive sales figures, keep them as conservative as you possibly can as you're getting started. As you grow and develop, then you can expand those numbers. But look at the worst case scenario as you're getting started, so that you know what you have to do. You have to do better than the worst case scenario. So use that as your starting point. If you'd love to sell 1,000 units of something, what do the numbers look like? What do your budgeting numbers look like if you only sell 100 of those? So be very conservative in the original projections of your company. Fixed expenses are those that are certain to be incurred and do not vary with the amount of sales you have. They won't change. They're there because they are part of the fixed expenses of doing business. Some of the expenses that you'll have will fluctuate based upon whatever it is that you're doing in your business. If you have to manufacture something, the cost of goods sold will fluctuate. But in certain businesses, such as, let's just throw it out there, rent. You know my position on when you're starting a business where your rent should be. Your rent should be as close to zero as you possibly can get it, however you get there. You don't want to assume a lot of rent as you are starting a business. It's an expense that could be controlled, so control it on the downside. But you'll have to invest in some type of technology. You'll have to invest in marketing. Those are the things that we do best. That's the best advice that we give in David's Barter community, because I've been doing it for so long. I have a lot of experiences. I share with you the things that have worked for me. I share with you the things that haven't worked for me, with the hope that you are able to understand how those are applicable to your business and the things that you need to do. Profit. You don't want to work for free, so be sure that your budget allows for a profit, whatever that might be. It might not be accurate in the beginning, but work it into your budget. Putting it all together, a final section, Barbara says, budgeting is an art, not an exact science. Be sure to build in a fudge factor to account for the unknown. Some unknowns that can throw your budget out of whack unless you add a cushion include inflation. You have to understand what inflation is. Fuel costs. We know they're too high. What happens when they go higher? What will that do to the numbers of your cost of operation? And interest costs. If you have outstanding loans with variable interest rates and those rates rise, then the cost of servicing this debt will also rise. Sometimes we don't take that into consideration. It must be factored. And Barbara's final thought, get input from your staff about what may be needed next year. If you don't have a staff, you won't have a staff as you're starting a business. Get that input from your mentors of entrepreneurship, your accountant, your attorney, your banker, your marketing strategist, your business strategist, your successful entrepreneur that you speak with, your technology person. Use your accounting software's budgeting tools to help you create your budget for 2013. It's there with a lot of research. It's there because people understand the process, so use it. Software is not that expensive, and it's one of the most important investments that you can make because it will help you make the decisions that you need to make with the research that particular software has done to get you to the point of engagement. Use it. The example that I use, it was just 2 years ago or 2 years ago that I actually worked on my own tax return, and I didn't give it exclusively to my accountant to do. I bought some software. In this case, it cost me $99, I think, for this, or it cost me $49 for the, I believe it was Intuit software that I bought. But what it did was, it took me through the process of creating my tax return on a line-by-line basis. I knew big picture what the numbers were. I never, ever broke it down on a line-by-line basis and understood how that particular line is impacted by the rest of the things that are happening. So it was a great exercise for me. The software, as I said, only cost $49. So I actually created a return for myself, which I did not present to the IRS. Instead, I took it to my CPA, and they studied it, and they refined it. They were the ones that submitted it to the IRS. So for the $49 I spent, I got a great understanding of things in my business that I never took the time to understand before. And in the final analysis, my accountant spent less time preparing my return because I had done all the basic things that needed to be done. They were just refining them. So less money, less time from my CPA meant less expense for me. Those are the kinds of things you can do with the various software that is available. To learn more about budgeting, where does Barbara tell you to go? She goes to tell you to go to the SBA.gov site and search for the words budgeting for the small business. Barbara, once again, thank you. Thank you for the great information that you bring to us. Thank you for your very simple style that gives us all the important information that we can understand. And to that point, now's the time to go start looking for Barbara's, now her 16th edition of Small Business Taxes. The one you'll look for now says 2013. If it's not available now, it'll be available very, very shortly. It'll cost you $19.95. You can find it on the bookshelves at your bookstore, or you can go to Amazon.com. Wherever you go to buy it, go and buy it. It will be the best $19.95 investment that you make for your small business. We'll see you soon.